Oliver Stone was born on September 15, 1946, in New York City to a well-off family. His father, Louis Stone, was a stockbroker, while his mother, Jacqueline, was of French descent. Growing up, Stone had a privileged upbringing, attending elite schools, but something about the world around him never sat right. The polished surface of American prosperity always seemed to mask something deeper, something more turbulent. This unease would later define his life's work. Rather than following the comfortable path expected of him, Stone took an unconventional route. He briefly attended Yale but dropped out, searching for something more than the structured academic life could offer. His journey took him to South Vietnam in 1965, not as a filmmaker, but as a teacher. He saw the conflict brewing firsthand and later enlisted in the U.S. Army, serving in combat during the Vietnam War. He wasn't in an office or behind the lines. He was on the ground, facing the brutality of war directly. Stone was wounded twice, earning a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart. Vietnam changed him. The patriotism he had once believed in felt hollow, replaced by a deep skepticism of power and the narratives fed to the public. He returned from the war disillusioned, carrying scars not just on his body, but on his perception of America itself. This wasn't the heroic, noble war effort the government sold to the people. It was chaos, exploitation, and suffering. While many veterans either buried their experiences or clung to nationalist narratives to justify the horrors they endured, Stone did the opposite. He questioned, he exposed, and he refused to let the truth die in silence. After Vietnam, Stone studied film at NYU under the guidance of Martin Scorsese. He saw cinema as a weapon, a means to challenge power, rewrite history, and force audiences to confront uncomfortable realities. While others in Hollywood sought escapism, he sought confrontation. His first major success came with Platoon, 1986, a film drawn directly from his wartime experiences. It was raw, brutal, and unapologetic, a direct counter to the sanitized war films of previous decades. It won the Academy Award for Best Picture and catapulted Stone into the spotlight. His war had changed from physical combat to ideological battle, and he was just getting started. Stone didn't stop with Platoon. He followed it up with Born on the 4th of July, 1989, a searing indictment of how America treats its veterans, based on the real-life story of Ron Kovic, a paralyzed Vietnam veteran turned anti-war activist. The film cemented Stone as a filmmaker who didn't just depict history, he challenged the official version of it. He wasn't interested in patriotic myths. He was interested in the raw, painful reality that the government and media often swept under the rug. The film won him his second Academy Award for Best Director, proving that audiences were willing to engage with uncomfortable truths. Then came JFK, 1991, one of the most controversial films in Hollywood history. It wasn't just a movie. It was a full-scale attack on the official story of President John F. Kennedy's assassination. Stone laid out a sprawling conspiracy, pointing fingers at the CIA, the military-industrial complex, and even the highest levels of government. The film was a massive success, but it also turned Stone into a target. The mainstream media, political figures, and historians attacked him relentlessly, accusing him of spreading misinformation and conspiracy theories. But Stone's response was pure Spartan. He didn't retreat, didn't apologize, he doubled down. That same unflinching approach defined his work throughout the 90s. Natural Born Killers, 1994, was a scathing critique of media sensationalism and its role in glorifying violence. Nixon, 1995, dissected the paranoia and corruption of the American presidency, showing Richard Nixon not as a cartoonish villain, but as a deeply flawed, power-obsessed figure. Unlike many filmmakers who feared backlash, Stone never shied away from challenging the system. If anything, he thrived in the fight. His work wasn't just about exposing corruption. It was about forcing people to think for themselves. Like a Spartan warrior questioning the tactics of his own commanders, Stone refused to accept official narratives at face value. He understood that true strength wasn't blind obedience, but the willingness to confront uncomfortable truths, even when it made you enemies. His enemies were many. Government officials, corporate media, even some in Hollywood who saw his work as dangerous. But he never stopped. In the 2000s, Stone turned his attention to U.S. foreign policy and the global consequences of American imperialism. Films like W, 2008, critiqued the Bush administration, while south of the border, 2009, challenged the Western portrayal of Latin American leaders like Hugo Chavez. By this point, he wasn't just an American filmmaker. He was a global provocateur, using cinema to dismantle propaganda and expose power on an international scale. In 2012, Oliver Stone took his fight against historical amnesia to a new level with The Untold History of the United States, a documentary series and companion book that dismantled the sanitized, triumphalist version of American history taught in schools. This wasn't just about exposing individual scandals or political figures. It was about revealing the systemic patterns of deception, imperial overreach, and corporate dominance that had shaped U.S. policy for decades. The series argued that the American public had been fed a distorted version of their own history, one that ignored the darker consequences of U.S. actions around the world. True to his nature, Stone didn't just criticize. He provided evidence, archival footage, and expert analysis to back up every claim. Predictably, the series was met with outrage in mainstream circles. Critics accused him of cherry-picking history, of being unpatriotic, of sympathizing with America's enemies. But as always, Stone didn't flinch. He understood that challenging the status quo comes at a cost. The Spartans didn't win their battles by seeking approval. They won through discipline, strategy, and an unyielding commitment to their cause. Stone's cause was truth. Uncomfortable, brutal, and often inconvenient truth. In the years that followed, he continued pushing boundaries, interviewing world leaders whom the U.S. and its government had painted as villains, from Vladimir Putin to Fidel Castro. His The Putin Interviews, 2017, sparked controversy, with some accusing him of being too soft on the Russian president. But Stone defended his work, arguing that understanding one's adversaries was not the same as endorsing them. This wasn't about propaganda. It was about piercing through the noise and giving people access to perspectives they weren't supposed to hear. Love him or hate him, Oliver Stone embodies the Spartan mindset, not because he agrees with any one ideology, but because he refuses to be controlled by any of them. His career is defined by the relentless pursuit of truth, no matter the personal or professional consequences. He has been attacked, ridiculed, and blacklisted, yet he remains standing. That is the essence of a warrior, not just surviving the battle, but choosing to fight it in the first place. Order the Spartan mindset today and embark on your journey toward becoming the leader your world needs. Let your struggles forge you into a warrior of character and resolve. The Spartan Mindset provides a comprehensive and actionable guide to personal development and resilience. Available now for just $19.99. Purchase your copy from the links in the description box below and on this channel's homepage. Because your future begins with the right mindset. The Spartan Mindset.